Can you introduce yourself? I know you for a while. I'm very excited about this conversation. I think it will be a lot of fun. But just to get started, if you can introduce yourself and a little bit about what you do.
Sure. I'll go first. I'll pass it to Sif, and then I can tell you about what Resultid does. So my name is Aditya Budve. I'm one of the co-founders and CEO of Resultid.
I'm Sifron Benjamin. I'm the CTO and a co-founder at Resultid as well.
And Resultid is an operational SaaS platform where we focus on trying to bridge the gap between qualitative, unstructured data and quantitative performance data and helping organizations make better decisions, both at the corporate level in terms of strategy and at the local level in terms of execution.
Wonderful. And since this series we're doing have a focus on the large industrial setting, including manufacture, including supply chain, I want to just ask you, do you guys work with such organizations or is that a sector you're interested?
Yeah, I'd say both. We work with a lot of OEMs. So Stellantis is one of our, I guess, flagship customers. So is BMW. But we're also making more moves in terms of like shipping companies, industrial, more core manufacturing companies, parts suppliers, all sorts of stuff. So we're kind of all
Oh,
over the board there.
great, great. And you've been working in this industry for a while?
Yeah, I was gonna say. Well, interestingly enough, we've been working with OEMs for a while, but the the teachings of how or I should say the learnings from what picked up from OEMs is what's helping us dig a little bit deeper on the industrial side. And the uh, the champions we have, their teachings have been very helpful because there's so many small nuances of how these businesses run that you have to be there, and these guys have been there for like 30 years. So that's, I think, what ends up being really helpful for us because we have to work with those experts to really truly understand how we can make an impact on the operations side.
Wonderful. So there is a collectively many years of experience in this area. And I know I'm talking to a couple of nerds here. I know, okay, that's probably that's probably not true for most of you there, but I'm very excited about we're going to nerd it out today. So I do want to start with a question on the AI technology side because there's a lot of change in the past few years, all of us know. And I just got a message from one of our engineers yesterday, sent me a screenshot from Y Combinator. And let me actually read that to you, and I want to see what you think. So the screenshot says burn tokens, not headcount. And there's one line there, there's multiple lines, but there's one line there says, if your API build doesn't make you uncomfortable, you are not doing enough. I've been seeing a lot of like posts, even on Instagram or on anywhere basically, right, talking about, throwing API tokens, not head counts, business problems, that things we want to solve. Want to see what you guys think there.
Yeah, well, Sif, you want to go first? This is like our conversation every day. So, well,
So with the token things, like there's much more ways to do it efficiently, right? And that's where like heavy industry, there's a lot of SMEs in their businesses right now. This token things is brand new to them, and so they're using AI in a totally inefficient way. Not knowing how to properly upload data, manage the data, actually use tokens properly. And so when the headline comes up, it's really funny because that's where something we come in being knowing how to use AI properly. Actually, like you don't have to burn all the tokens. You can do it in a proper way, and not probably keep a head count too, and use your tokens properly, and not burn it all completely. What do
yeah,
you think on that? I know you're working.
yeah. I'm, piggybacking on that, as I mentioned, this is a conversation that we have quite frequently. I think the sentiment I can understand, right? Because if you're talking about investing in more headcount, there are different layers to that as well, right? Do you want full time? Do you want contractor? We work with your team. We've been working with your team for years, and the flexibility of being able to bring people on or bring them on for particular projects, that type of deal is very, very valuable to our development efforts. And so you can extend that and you can say, well, if I can bring on a like a coding agent, so to speak, that I'm just burning tokens to build, to get it out the door, to get it to customers, and hopefully get it to a point where I can start earning revenue. I can understand that. Now, the one caveat here is I feel like that statement is an oversimplification of a process that should actually be a lot more meticulous than that, which is you don't burn tokens for burning tokens' sake. That's not, there's no ROI there of just throwing tokens at a problem, because we face this every day when a customer comes in and they said, okay, here's 2 million data points. Sure, we can throw a bunch of tokens at it and solve it. And then when they come back a month later and say, actually, here's 300 million data points, that's not going to work at all, right? There needs to be some eye to efficiency. There needs to be some eye to proper fundamental understanding of the systems that you use. And that, I think, is what has helped differentiate us, because you don't need to use an LLM where NLP modules will do, right? You don't need to use an LLM where basic machine learning would solve the problem. Not even machine learning, just like a regression model would solve the problem, right? And so that's that for us has kept us competitive, because we've always had that mindset. But on the flip side, it is something that gets under both of our skins, because what we're hearing on Instagram and all these other sources is the same
TikTok.
thing. Like, burn tokens, not headcount. It's like, okay, it's fine for the people that are in it and just coming up with catchy phrases. But for people who are at the corporate level in executive positions saying, yeah, they look at Jensen Huang saying, all right, if my engineers aren't spending 250,000 in tokens a year, then they're not being productive enough. Great if you're Nvidia, not great if you're Ford. Like, what do you do? It's ridiculous,
I think what you said there is what resonated me most. I mean, there's a lot to unpack here. The one thing really resonated is what you're saying is, yeah, if you're, Nvidia, or if you're a tech startup, maybe
Right.
through Y Combinator, so I can see why they're saying that.
Yeah.
But if you are in a traditional industry and it's an industrial setting, manufacture, these are very traditional industries, and they have their core business
Right.
that they're handling, which is not tech, right?
Mhm.
And so sounds like what I'm getting from this is that if you know what you're doing very well, there could be some efficiency gain, most likely. I mean, we've all seen that. But
Yeah.
if you don't know what you're doing yet, throwing more token at anything is only going to increase the cost. It's not
Right.
necessary to increase ROI. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, 100%. I think it's interesting. If you look now, we're coming to a full circle moment where they're saying, okay, especially with the latest changes in Anthropic's pricing model, right? Where instead of letting everything be the $200 max plan, they're going to start charging for your actual like code budget. They're saying for right. I mean, and of course they are, right? That was always going to be the
Sure, that's the business model. Yes.
that's the business model. They hook you in and then they take it away, and then you're so deep into their software that you just have to keep paying money. But now we're hearing companies that are saying maybe for lower level coding tasks, we actually bring on, a junior level developer to handle that. And then for the more complicated R&D type tasks, we, put that on an agent and then have that be picked up later by a contractor or a software engineer. I mean, like it's funny. It's funny to watch all of this, and obviously we also use AI coding agents. We love it. So we're not. This isn't like this isn't like a holier than thou type of thing. Like, we get it. I mean, we've been there. And what I appreciate about what Y Combinator is saying is that they've always been uh, really behind this idea of like fail fast. Because
Yeah,
if you fail fast, you can
true.
iterate. And then you fail fast and fail cheaply. So if you're building something really quickly and you're throwing tokens at it, you can manage that, right? And then eventually you iterate to the idea that needs to scale. And then once you're there, then you can figure out the proper process. So I just think the people that are doing that at Y Combinator also are of the understanding of how that process works. And what
Yeah.
we're hearing is like a snippet outside, but inside, I'm sure. I mean, we went through Techstars and we didn't have all of this at the time, but it was the beginnings of when GPT, before Chat GPT, all of that came out. And we were using Pegasus and BERT framework and all of that stuff to do our own embedding models. And,
Right.
you know, we saw that there was going to be a future in this, but at the time, in a way, it wasn't good enough. So we had to do everything manually ourselves. And we do think about it from time to time where it's like, could we have done this in a fraction of the time had we had the tools available today, you know, back then? So I think
So,
it can go either way.
so
And
could you then, so maybe say from the technical side, when you look back, right, if you were equipped with tools from, you know, what we have today, 3 or 4 years ago, do you think there's anything that you could have done differently? Would that be more efficient, or do you think there are things that will stay as how it was and the same? Yeah.
I think we've been so much more efficient having all the tools now. But even now, the tools are changing every day. Like to what you're saying about the burn
Yeah.
tokens, I think like for the Y Combinator, you have to burn a lot of tokens to figure out your own process, right? Once you figure out process, that's when it gets more and more efficient. Think about like maybe like was it 8 months ago we didn't have Claude skills. That was a game changer in itself. So if we were throwing tokens out the window, just building things, right? You need testament stuff. Now we have the Claude Gold skill. Now you can run through, iterate without having to check each time or click yes, yes, yes. So I think the game changes every single day with the amount of stuff coming out. Now we have different models coming out. We have different harnesses, and so now things are going to get a little bit tighter as things, you know, as the subsidizing of our models are coming down. But now there's also more models that you can run locally on your LLM. So what you're saying, John, bring back your questions, like, yeah, much more efficiency. I think it takes us a little bit to figure out like what is our process? How do we work with, you know, if we're putting like if everyone has a PR and a team of 20,000 lines of code written by AI, how do we test that all together?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So all the different problems are coming up. So we're much more efficient, but you need to figure out the process in place. I think that's where you need to
True.
burn the tokens. Like learn what to do. Then have to have our own process and make it efficiency and actually how you deliver code without breaking things.
Well,
True.
one thing I'll also call out, Sif, that I feel like you should talk about because there's another thing that you were working on is how has the role of our developers changed now that they have
Interesting.
access to all of this, right?
Yeah,
To
so
review
the
that demand and stuff like
interaction,
that.
yeah, the interaction between the people and the tools. Yeah,
Yeah.
I would love to hear about that.
Yeah, for example, like so our workflow, you know, traditional workflow is still, you know, you pull the code down and testing things, but now like if we're working feature, like you know, we have like our process, our peer review process and everything. Now you can put a PR, work on the next thing, and we have multiple agents working on multiple features at one time. You know, like our bugs, like we used to have like a week turnaround for bugs. Our bugs is now a day, maybe if not sooner. You know,
Barely. Yeah, yeah.
the agent, but the agent
Same day fixes, yeah.
same day fixes, right? You know, that used to be like a code red kind of thing. Now it's super easy. And you know, we have different tools we use, like with some people use solo terms, people use conductor, like there are many different like desktop tools people can use, depending on the Windows, Linux, whatever. But they all do the same thing, right? You're running multiple agents at a time to work on different features of the code.
All right. Aditya, I have another question. We talked a lot about changes and on the AI side, on the technology side, and you also mentioned it is now coming a full circle. So can you elaborate what hasn't changed that in these past years from your own operation and working with your clients?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think this is a two-parter. So I'll answer my side and then I'll pass it off to Sif because I know he has a lot of thoughts on this. But just from the top, what's really interesting, it goes back to our earlier discussion about throwing tokens at certain problems. There was a lot of, you know, thought that if I just say anything I want, you know, into an interface with the agents, it'll build whatever I want, which is, I mean, for the most part, true. But what we're seeing, which has, you know, should have been obvious from the beginning, is that a more defined scope of a project, like a PRD, right? Where you're actually laying out what the platform needs to do, how it connects to each other, what the different services are, that has been around forever, but it's becoming more and more important to good code. And it's no longer just code quality of people, you know, hands on keyboard coding, but it's more of a code quality from structural standpoint. You're not just putting, you know, tape and string everywhere just to get this thing to work by throwing everything at an agent and saying, hey, figure it out from scratch, right? But I feel like that's something we've we've always done a part of, but now we're even more clear on, okay, we got to put together PRDs as a team first on what we want to build. We still have to go out and do the product interviews, and we have a great CPO who brought this from his experience at Carfax and previous experiences, and I believe that has led to a better platform from a UI UX standpoint. Like AI AI knows generally what is good UI UX, but it's the people who actually invest with their customers to figure out what they actually need that ends up being, top class UI UX. So that's kind of the front end side of the platform. But Sif, I know you probably have a lot of thoughts on the back end side.
No, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. The big thing is the quality. We were kind of talking earlier about it too. Like you can code so much stuff now. Is the output
Yeah.
good quality, right? Even if it's like user facing, like we have LLM, NLP outputs in the platform. We take in some customer experience data, and we build reports and stuff like that too. Does that report make sense, right? The AI we'll say it's a good job. You can build AI tools to check it and make sure it's good, but you still need a human, at least somewhat, to at least check it and make sure it's good. Is the customer going to read this and like it, right? And that's one thing that, no matter how much tokens you throw at it, somebody still needs to make sure you're putting out good stuff.
No, that's a great point. That is a great point on the quality side. I think you really summarized it well on that. It's
Yeah, 100%.
volume versus quality, right? Quantity versus quality.